Genesis 19. And the two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting at the gate of the city. And when he had seen them, he rose up and went to meet them. And he reverenced prone on the ground. And he said, I beg you, my lords, turn aside to the house of your servant, and lodge there. Wash your feet, and in the morning you will advance on your way. And they said, Not at all. But we will lodge in the street. He pressed them very much to turn aside to him. And when they had entered his house, he made a feast for them, and he cooked unleavened bread, and they ate. But before they went to bed, the men of the city surrounded the house, from boys to old men, all the people together. And they called out to Lot, and they said to him, Where are the men who entered to you in the night? Bring them out here, so that we may know them. Lot went out to them, and blocking the door behind him, he said, Do not, I ask you, my brothers, do not be willing to commit this evil. I have 2 daughters who as yet have not known man. I will bring them out to you, abuse them as it pleases you, provided that you do no evil to these men, because they have entered under the shadow of my roof. But they said, Move away from there. And again, You have entered, they said, as a stranger, should you then judge? Therefore, we will afflict you yourself more than them. And they acted very violently against Lot. And they were now at the point of breaking open the doors. And behold, the men put out their hand, and they pulled Lot into them, and they closed the door. And they struck those who were outside with blindness, from the least to the greatest, so that they were not able to find the door. Then they said to Lot, Do you have here anyone of yours? All who are yours, sons-in-law, or sons, or daughters, bring them out of this city. For we will eliminate this place, because the outcry among them has increased before the Lord, who sent us to destroy them. And so Lot, going out, spoke to his sons-in-law, who were going to receive his daughters, and he said, Rise up. Depart from this place. For the Lord will destroy this city. And it seemed to them that he was speaking playfully. And when it was morning, the angels compelled him, saying, Arise, take your wife, and the 2 daughters that you have, lest you also should perish amid the wickedness of the city. And, since he ignored them, they took his hand, and the hand of his wife, as well as that of his 2 daughters, because the Lord was sparing him. And they brought him out, and placed him beyond the city. And there they spoke to him, saying, Save your life. Do not look not back. Neither should you stay in the entire surrounding region. But save yourself in the mountain, lest you also should perish. And Lot said to them, I beg you, my lord. Though your servant has found grace before you, and you have magnified your mercy, which you have shown to me in saving my life, I cannot be saved on the mountain, lest perhaps some misfortune take hold of me and I die. There is a certain city nearby, to which I can flee, it is a little one, and I will be saved in it. Is it not a modest one, and will not my soul live? And he said to him, Behold, even now, I have heard your petitions about this, not to overturn the city on behalf of which you have spoken. Hurry and be saved there. For I cannot do anything until you enter there. For this reason, the name of that city is called Zoar. The sun had risen over the land, and Lot had entered into Zoar. Therefore, the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire, from the Lord, out of heaven. And he overturned these cities, and all the surrounding region, all the inhabitants of the cities, and everything that springs from the land. And his wife, looking behind herself, was turned into a statue of salt. Then Abraham, rising up in the morning, in the place where he had stood before with the Lord, looked out towards Sodom and Gomorrah, and the entire land of that region. And he saw embers rising up from the land like smoke from a furnace. For when God overthrew the cities of that region, remembering Abraham, he freed Lot from the overthrow of the cities, in which he had dwelt. And Lot descended from Zoar, and he stayed on the mountain, and likewise his 2 daughters with him, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters with him. And the elder said to the younger, Our father is old, and no man remains in the land who can enter to us according to the custom of the whole world. Come, let us inebriate him with wine, and let us sleep with him, so that we may be able to preserve offspring from our father. And so they gave their father wine to drink that night. And the elder went in, and she slept with her father. But he did not perceive it, neither when his daughter lay down, nor when she rose up. Likewise, the next day, the elder said to the younger, Behold, yesterday I slept with my father, let us give him wine to drink yet again this night, and you will sleep with him, so that we may save offspring from our father. And then they gave their father wine to drink that night also, and the younger daughter went in, and slept with him. And not even then did he perceive when she lay down, or when she rose up. Therefore, the 2 daughters of Lot conceived by their father. And the elder gave birth to a son, and she called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites, even to the present day. Likewise, the younger gave birth to a son, and she called his name Ammon, that is, the son of my people, he is the father of the Ammonites, even today. Genesis 20. Abraham advanced from there into the southern land, and he lived between Kadesh and Shur. And he sojourned in Gerar. And he said about his wife Sarah, She is my sister. Therefore, Abimelech, the king of Gerar, sent for her and took her. Then God came to Abimelech through a dream in the night, and he said to him, Lo, you shall die because of the woman that you have taken. For she has a husband. In truth, Abimelech had not touched her, and so he said, Lord, would you put to death a people, ignorant and just? Did he not say to me, She is my sister, and did she not say, He is my brother, in the sincerity of my heart and the purity of my hands, I have done this. And God said to him, And I know that you have acted with a sincere heart. And therefore I kept you from sinning against me, and I did not release you to touch her. Now therefore, return his wife to the man, for he is a prophet. And he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you are not willing to return her, know this, you shall die a death, you and all that is yours. And immediately Abimelech, rising up in the night, called all his servants. And he spoke all these words in their hearing, and all the men were very afraid. Then Abimelech called also for Abraham, and he said to him, What have you done to us? How have we sinned against you, so that you would bring so great a sin upon me and upon my kingdom? You have done to us which you ought not to have done. And remonstrating him again, he said, What did you see, so that you would do this? Abraham responded, I thought to myself, saying, Perhaps there is no fear of God in this place. And they will put me to death because of my wife. Yet, in another way, she is also truly my sister, the daughter of my father, and not the daughter of my mother, and I took her as a wife. Then, after God led me out of my father's house, I said to her, You will show this mercy to me. In every place, to which we will travel, you will say that I am your brother. Therefore, Abimelech took sheep and oxen, and men servants and women servants, and he gave them to Abraham. And he returned his wife Sarah to him. And he said, The land is in your sight. Dwell wherever it will please you. Then to Sarah he said, Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 silver coins. This will be for you as a veil for your eyes, to all who are with you and wherever you will travel. And so, remember that you were taken. Then when Abraham prayed, God healed Abimelech and his wife, and his handmaids, and they gave birth. For the Lord had closed every womb of the house of Abimelech, because of Sarah, the wife of Abraham. Genesis 21. Then the Lord visited Sarah, just as he had promised, and he fulfilled what he had spoken. And she conceived and gave birth to a son in her old age, at the time that God had foretold to her. And Abraham called the name of his son, whom Sarah bore for him, Isaac. And he circumcised him on the 8th day, just as God had instructed him, when he was 100 years old. Indeed, at this stage of his father's life, Isaac was born. And Sarah said, God has brought laughter to me. Whoever will hear of it will laugh with me. And again, she said, hearing this, who would believe Abraham, that Sarah breastfed a son, to whom she gave birth, despite being elderly. And the boy grew and was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast on the day of his weaning. And when Sarah had seen the son of Hagar the Egyptian playing with her son Isaac, she said to Abraham, Cast out this woman servant and her son. For the son of a woman servant will not be heir with my son Isaac. Abraham took this grievously, for the sake of his son. And God said to him, Let it not seem harsh to you concerning the boy and your woman servant. In all that Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice. For your offspring will be invoked in Isaac. Yet I will also make the son of the woman servant into a great nation, for he is your offspring. And so Abraham arose in the morning, and taking bread and a skin of water, he placed it upon her shoulder, and he handed over the boy, and he released her. And when she had departed, she wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And when the water in the skin had been consumed, she sat aside the boy, under one of the trees that were there. And she moved away and sat in a distant area, as far as a bow can reach. For she said, I shall not see the boy die. And so, sitting opposite her, he lifted up his voice and wept. But God heard the voice of the boy. And an angel of God called to Hagar from heaven, saying, What are you doing, Hagar? Do not be afraid. For God has heeded the voice of the boy, from the place where he is. Rise up. Take the boy and hold him by the hand. For I will make of him a great nation. And God opened her eyes. And seeing a well of water, she went and filled a skin, and she gave the boy to drink. And God was with him. And he grew, and he stayed in the wilderness, and he became a young man, an archer. And he lived in the desert of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. At the same time, Abimelech and Phicol, the leader of his army, said to Abraham, God is with you in everything that you do. Therefore, swear by God that you will do no harm to me, and to my posterity, and to my stock. But according to the mercy that I have done to you, you will do to me and to the land, to which you have turned as a newcomer. And Abraham said, I will swear. And he reproved Abimelech because of a well of water, which his servants had taken away by force. And Abimelech responded, I do not know who did this thing, but you also did not reveal it to me, nor have I heard of it, before today. And so Abraham took sheep and oxen, and he gave them to Abimelech. And both of them struck a pact. And Abraham set aside 7 female lambs from the flock. Abimelech said to him, What purpose have these 7 female lambs, which you have caused to stand separately? But he said, You will receive 7 female lambs from my hand, so that they may be a testimony for me, that I dug this well. For this reason, that place was called Beersheba, because there both of them did swear. And they initiated a pact on behalf of the well of oath. Then Abimelech and Phicol, the leader of his army, rose up, and they returned to the land of the Palestinians. In truth, Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba, and there he called upon the name of the Lord God Eternal. And he was a settler in the land of the Palestinians for many days. Genesis 22. After these things occurred, God tested Abraham, and he said to him, Abraham, Abraham. And he answered, Here I am. He said to him, Take your only begotten son Isaac, whom you love, and go into the land of Vision. And there you shall offer him as a holocaust upon one of the mountains, which I will show to you. And so Abraham, getting up in the night, harnessed his donkey, taking with him 2 youths, and his son Isaac. And when he had cut wood for the holocaust, he traveled toward the place, as God had instructed him. Then, on the third day, lifting up his eyes, he saw the place at a distance. And he said to his servants, "Wait here with the donkey. I and the boy will hurry further ahead to that place. After we have worshipped, we'll return to you." He also took the wood for the holocaust, and he imposed it upon his son Isaac. And he himself carried in his hands fire and a sword. And as the two continued on together, Isaac said to his father, "My father." And he answered, "What do you want, son?" "Behold," he said, "fire and wood. Where is the victim for the holocaust?" But Abraham said, "God himself will provide the victim for the holocaust, my son." Thus they continued on together. And they came to the place that God had shown to him. There he built an altar, and he set the wood in order upon it. And when he had bound his son Isaac, he laid him on the altar upon the pile of wood. And he reached out his hand and took hold of the sword, in order to sacrifice his son. And behold, an angel of the Lord called out from heaven, saying, "Abraham, Abraham." And he answered, "Here I am." And he said to him, "Do not extend your hand over the boy, and do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, since you have not spared your only begotten son for my sake." Abraham lifted up his eyes, and he saw behind his back a ram among the thorns, caught by the horns, which he took and offered as a holocaust, instead of his son. And he called the name of that place, "The Lord sees." Thus, even to this day, it is said, "On the mountain, the Lord will see." Then the angel of the Lord called out to Abraham a second time from heaven, saying, "By my own self, I have sworn, says the Lord. Because you have done this thing, and have not spared your only begotten son for my sake, I will bless you, and I will multiply your offspring like the stars of heaven, and like the sand which is on the seashore. Your offspring will possess the gates of their enemies. And in your offspring, all the nations of the earth will be blessed, because you obeyed my voice." Abraham returned to his servants, and they went to Beersheba together, and he lived there. After these things occurred, it was reported to Abraham that Milcah, likewise, had borne sons for his brother Nahor. Uz, the firstborn, and Buz, his brother, and Kemuel, the father of the Syrians. And Chizd, and Hazo, likewise Pildash, and Jidlaph. As well as Bethuel, of whom was born Rebekah. These 8 Milcah bore for Nahor, the brother of Abraham. In truth, his concubine, named Reumah, bore Tebah, and Gaham, and Tahash, and Maacah. Genesis 23. Now Sarah lived for 127 years. And she died in the city of Arba, which is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn and weep for her. And when he had risen up from the funeral duties, he spoke to the sons of Het, saying, "I am a newcomer and a sojourner among you. Give me the right of a sepulchre among you, so that I may bury my dead." The sons of Het responded by saying, "Hear us, O Lord, you are leader of God among us. Bury your dead in our chosen sepulchres. And no man shall be able to prohibit you from burying your dead within his memorial." Abraham arose, and he reverenced the people of the land, namely, the sons of Het. And he said to them, "If it pleases your soul that I should bury my dead, hear me, and intercede on my behalf with Ephron, the son of Zohar, so that he may give me the double cave, which he has at the far end of his field. He may transfer it to me for as much money as it is worth in your sight, for the possession of a sepulchre." Now Ephron dwelt in the midst of the sons of Het. And Ephron responded to Abraham in the hearing of everyone who was entering at the gate of his city, saying, "Let it never be so, my lord, but you should pay greater heed to what I say. The field I will transfer to you, and the cave that is in it. In the presence of the sons of my people, bury your dead." Abraham reverenced in the sight of the people of the land. And he spoke to Ephron, standing in the midst of the people, I ask you to hear me. I will give you money for the field. Take it, and so I will bury my dead in it. And Ephron responded, My lord, hear me. The land that you request is worth 400 shekels of silver. This is the price between me and you. But how much is this? Bury your dead. And when Abraham had heard this, he weighed out the money that Ephron had requested, in the hearing of the sons of Het, 400 shekels of silver, of the approved public currency. And having confirmed that the field, in which there was a double cave overlooking Mamre, formerly belonged to Ephron, both it and the sepulchre, and all its trees, with all its surrounding limits, Abraham took it as a possession, in the sight of the sons of Het and of everyone who was entering at the gate of his city. So then, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the double cave of the fields that overlooked Mamre. This is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And the field was confirmed to Abraham, with the cave that was in it, as a memorial possession before the sons of Het. Genesis 24. Now Abraham was old and of many days. And the Lord had blessed him in all things. And he said to the elder servant of his house, who was in charge of all that he had, Place your hand under my thigh, so that I may make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I live, but that you will proceed to my land and kindred, and from there take a wife for my son Isaac. The servant responded, If the woman is not willing to come with me into this land, must I lead your son back to the place from which you departed? And Abraham said, Beware that you never lead my son back to that place. The Lord God of heaven, who took me from my father's house, and from the land of my nativity, who spoke to me and swore to me, saying, To your offspring I will give this land, himself will send his angel before you, and you will take from there a wife for my son. But if the woman is not willing to follow you, you will not be held by the oath. Only do not lead my son back to that place. Therefore, the servant placed his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his lord, and he swore to him on his word. And he took 10 camels from his lord's herd, and he went forth, carrying with him things from all of his goods. And he set out, and continued on, to the city of Nahor, in Mesopotamia. And when he had made the camels lie down outside of the town, near a well of water, in the evening, at the time when women are accustomed to go out to draw water, he said, O Lord, the God of my lord Abraham, meet with me today, I beg you, and show mercy to my lord Abraham. Behold, I stand near the fountain of water, and the daughters of the inhabitants of this city will go forth to draw water. Therefore, the girl to whom I will say, Tip your pitcher, so that I may drink, and she will respond, Drink. In fact, I will give your camels a drink also, the same one is she whom you have prepared for your servant Isaac. And by this, I will understand that you have shown mercy to my lord. But he had not yet completed these words within himself, when, behold, Rebekah went out, the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, the brother of Abraham, having a pitcher on her shoulder. She was an exceedingly elegant girl, and a most beautiful virgin, and unknown by man. And she descended to the spring, and she filled her pitcher, and then was returning. And the servant ran to meet her, and he said, Provide me with a little water to drink from your pitcher. And she responded, Drink, my lord. And she quickly brought down the pitcher on her arm, and she gave him a drink. And after he drank, she added, In fact, I will draw water for your camels also, until they all drink. And pouring out the pitcher into the troughs, she ran back to the well to draw water, and having drawn, she gave it to all the camels. But he was contemplating her silently, wanting to know whether the Lord had caused his journey to prosper or not. Then, after the camels drank, the man took out gold earrings, weighing 2 shekels, and the same number of bracelets, 10 shekels in weight. And he said to her, Whose daughter are you? Tell me, is there any place in your father's house to lodge? She responded, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, to whom she gave birth for Nahor. And she continued, saying, There is very much straw and hay with us, and a spacious place to stay. The man bowed himself down, and he adored the Lord, saying, Blessed be the Lord, the God of my lord Abraham, who has not taken away his mercy and truth from my lord, and who has led me on a direct journey to the house of the brother of my lord. And so the girl ran, and she reported all that she had heard in the house of her mother. Now Rebekah had a brother, named Laban, who went out quickly to the man, where the spring was. And when he had seen the earrings and bracelets in his sister's hands, and he had heard all the words being repeated, This is what the man spoke to me, he came to the man who stood by the camels and near the spring of water. And he said to him, Enter, O blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside? I have prepared the house, and a place for the camels. And he brought him into his guest quarters. And he unharnessed the camels, and he distributed straw and hay, and water to wash his feet and that of the men who arrived with him. And bread was set out in his sight. But he said, I will not eat, until I have spoken my words. He answered him, Speak. Then he said, I am the servant of Abraham. And the Lord has blessed my Lord greatly, and he has become great. And he has given him sheep and oxen, silver and gold, men servants and women servants, camels and donkeys. And Sarah, the wife of my Lord, has given birth to a son for my Lord in her old age, and he has given him all that he had. And my Lord made me swear, saying, You shall not take a wife for my son from the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell. But you shall travel to my father's house, and you shall take a wife of my own kindred for my son. But truly, I answered my Lord, What if the woman is not willing to come with me? The Lord, he said, in whose side I walk, will send his angel with you, and he will direct your way. And you shall take a wife for my son from my own kindred and from my father's house. But you will be innocent of my curse, if, when you will arrive at my close relatives, they will not grant this to you. And so, today I arrived at the well of water, and I said, O Lord, the God of my lord Abraham, if you have directed my way, in which I now walk. Behold, I stand next to the well of water, and the virgin, who will go forth to draw water, will hear from me, Give me a little water to drink from your pitcher. And she will say to me, You drink, and I will also draw for your camels. Let the same be the woman, whom the Lord has prepared for the son of my Lord. And while I thought over these things silently within myself, Rebekah appeared, arriving with a pitcher, which she carried on her shoulder. And she descended to the spring and drew water. And I said to her, Give me a little to drink. And she quickly let down the pitcher from her arm, and said to me, You drink, and to your camels I will also distribute drinking water. I drank, and she watered the camels. And I questioned her, saying, Whose daughter are you? And she responded, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him. And so, I hung the earrings on her, to adorn her face, and I put the bracelets on her hands. And falling prostrate, I adored the Lord, blessing the Lord, the God of my lord Abraham, who has led me along the straight path so as to take the daughter of my lord's brother to his son. For this reason, if you would act according to mercy and truth with my Lord, tell me so. But if it pleases you otherwise, say that to me also, so that I may go either to the right, or to the left. And Laban and Bethuel responded, A word has proceeded from the Lord. We are not able to speak anything else to you, beyond what pleases him. Lo, Rebekah is in your sight. Take her and continue on, and let her be the wife of the son of your Lord, just as the Lord has spoken. When Abraham's servant had heard this, falling down to the ground, he adored the Lord. And bringing forth vessels of silver and gold, as well as garments, he gave them to Rebekah as a tribute. Likewise, he offered gifts to her brothers and her mother. And a banquet began, and they feasted and drank together, and they lodged there. And rising up in the morning, the servant said, "Release me, so that I may go to my lord." And her brothers and mother responded, "Let the girl remain for at least 10 days with us, and after that, she will continue on." "Do not be willing," he said, "to delay me, for the Lord has directed my way. Release me, so that I may journey to my lord." And they said, "Let us call the girl, and ask her will." And when, having been called, she arrived, they wanted to know, "Will you go with this man?" And she said, "I will go." Therefore, they released her and her nurse, and the servant of Abraham and his companions, wishing prosperity for their sister, by saying, "You are our sister. May you increase to thousands of thousands. And may your offspring possess the gates of their enemies." And so, Rebekah and her maids, riding upon camels, followed the man, who quickly returned to his lord. Then, at the same time, Isaac was walking along the way that leads to the well, whose name is, of the one who lives and who sees, for he dwelt in the southern land. And he had gone out to meditate in the field, as daylight was now declining. And when he had lifted up his eyes, he saw camels advancing from afar. Likewise, Rebekah, having seen Isaac, descended from the camel. And she said to the servant, "Who is that man who advances to meet us through the field?" And he said to her, "That is my lord." And so, quickly taking up her cloak, she covered herself. Then the servant explained to Isaac all that he had done. And he led her into the tent of Sarah his mother, and he accepted her as wife. And he loved her so very much, that it tempered the sorrow which befell him at his mother's death. Thank you for watching. If you like the content on this channel, please press subscribe, the like button or comment below. We'd love to get your tips. See you next time.